It started with little things. A new photo of my stepdaughter on the mantel. My mom's laughter echoing louder when she was around. Inside jokes I wasn't part of. At first, I told myself I was imagining it. That families change and I needed to adjust. But the feeling grew sharper each day, like a splinter I couldn't pull out. My mom's attention drifted further from me, her praise reserved for someone else. I watched as traditions we once shared became theirs, and invitations to join in grew fewer. The ache of being replaced settled in quietly, but it was impossible to ignore. I realized I was no longer at the center of my mom's world, and the emptiness that followed was something I'd never felt before. I started noticing how often I was left out. Family movie nights happened without me. My favorite meals disappeared from the dinner table, and weekend outings were planned when I wasn't home. I'd come back to stories and inside jokes I didn't understand. Laughter that didn't need me to be part of it. Even holiday traditions, decorating the tree, baking cookies, became something I watched from a distance. The more I tried to join in, the more invisible I felt. It was as if I'd become a guest in my own home, quietly watching my place in the family slip away. There was a time when it was just Mom and me, our laughter filling every corner of the house. We'd stay up late watching old movies, whisper secrets over mugs of cocoa, and invent silly traditions that belonged only to us. She'd braid my hair in the mornings, telling me I was her favorite person in the world. Those memories glowed with warmth, a golden light I could almost feel. Now, that closeness felt like a distant dream. The house was quieter, the air colder, and the space between us had grown wide and unfamiliar. I missed the way things used to be. It was my birthday, a day that used to be ours. I came home to find the living room decorated, but the cake had my stepdaughter's name on it. My mom and stepdad were singing, their arms around her, while I stood in the doorway, unnoticed. When I finally spoke up, my mom just smiled and said, "We thought it would be nice to celebrate her this year." The words stung more than I expected. I watched as my stepdaughter blew out the candles, surrounded by the family that once felt like mine. That was the moment I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. Something inside me shifted, and I decided it was time to take control. That night, I sat alone in my room, the echoes of laughter and celebration still ringing in my ears. For a while, I let the sadness wash over me, but then something changed. I realized I didn't want to be a background character in my own life. I remembered the girl who used to make her mom laugh, who started family traditions and brought people together. I wasn't going to let anyone, not even my own mother, erase me. I wiped my tears and looked in the mirror, determined to find my voice again. If my place in the family was slipping away, I would fight for it, not by begging for attention, but by showing who I truly was. I started paying close attention to what my mom admired: hard work, kindness, and creativity. I noticed how my stepdaughter always volunteered to help, brought home good grades, and made a show of being thoughtful instead of competing for the same spotlight. I decided to switch the game. I focused on my strengths, pouring my energy into school projects, helping neighbors, and reviving old family traditions in my own way. I reached out to relatives, organized a charity drive, and even started a small art project that brought the community together. My goal wasn't to outshine anyone, but to remind myself, and my mom, of what made me unique. I wanted to be seen for who I truly was, not just as someone easily replaced. Slowly, things began to change. My mom started noticing the difference: how neighbors praised my efforts, how teachers called to share my successes, how relatives reached out to thank me for bringing everyone together. Even at home, the atmosphere shifted. My stepdaughters' attempts to win favor by putting me down or taking credit for my ideas didn't go unnoticed anymore. My mom saw through the small manipulations and began to question things she once ignored. For the first time in a long while, I felt seen, not for being loud or dramatic, but for quietly making a difference. The balance in our family started to shift, and I realized I was no longer invisible. One evening, my mom found me in the kitchen, quietly finishing a project. She sat down beside me, her eyes softer than I'd seen in months. "I didn't realize how much I was hurting you," she admitted, her voice trembling. I told her how it felt to be replaced, how hard I'd tried to hold on to our bond. Tears welled up in her eyes as she listened, really listened, for the first time. She apologized, reaching for my hand. "You've shown so much strength," she said. In that moment, the walls between us began to crumble, and I finally felt understood. Things didn't go back to the way they were, but something better took their place. My mom made an effort to include me, and our conversations grew more honest. My stepdaughter and I found common ground, learning to respect each other's strengths instead of competing for approval. I realized I didn't need to fight for attention anymore. I just needed to be true to myself. The more I focused on my own growth, the more I felt valued, not just by my family, but by myself. If you've ever felt replaced or invisible, know that your worth isn't defined by others. Sometimes, reclaiming your place means discovering who you are all over again.